Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Steam Train. I hope you guys are all doing well. It is Thursday at 11. That means we are doing our younger Steam Train that's focused around K-2. We're continuing on our Simple Machines series. My name is Mr. Dorian with New Minds, and I hope you guys are all doing well. Just like we've talked about for the past 3 lessons, and if you missed them, feel free to go back to newminds.tv and check it out. We're talking about how simple machines can make life and working easier. The simple machine we have on focus today is actually called a lever. Levers are super cool because you can make them out of almost anything. All you need to make a lever is some length that is sturdy. It could be a metal pole, it could be a wooden stick, it could be this ruler like I have here for a very small lever, and something called a fulcrum. A fulcrum, it sounds like a fancy word, but it's just the point that the lever balances on. If a lever has multiple points under it, it's actually not a lever anymore. It just needs one point, it doesn't have to be in the middle, and it is now a lever. Levers are super cool. Let's say I want to lift this book with nothing but my pinky. I can try and put my finger under, I can get it under and try and lift it, but it's not going to happen. I'm not going to lift this book. It's way too heavy. It's way too big. I'm actually trying my hardest, and I can't even get my finger under here. But using the simple machine, we can make this possible with just my pinky. Here is one way you can construct a lever, is by putting the lever underneath the weight you want to lift. I'm going to slide this under here, and I need a fulcrum. Where you place it is going to depend on how well or how not as well your lever works. If I place it under the far end, there is a long end of the lever and a short end of the lever. The shorter end is going to take more force to move. The longer end is going to take less force to move. So if I want to use less force, I need to press on the longer end. So right now the book's on the longer end, so that's not actually going to help me. So if I try and push on this with just my pinky, it's not going to lift up. It's not going to budge. But I'm going to move this back a little bit so you can see the edge. If I move my fulcrum more to the middle, I'm going to push it, and now it's starting to lift a little bit. I'm getting a little bit of lift, and now I'm just using my pinky. I didn't change anything about the lever. All I did was move the fulcrum closer. So now I have a longer end than the book does. And if I want to make a super awesome lever, hi Solomon and Malcolm, glad to see you guys again. If I want a super awesome lever, I can move my fulcrum all the way to the end, get it ready, and then press it. And it's going to lift it really easy. I can just do this all day. It's such an easy way to move it. The cool thing is that these levers are used in all sorts of different stuff. I was actually reading a book the other day about some treasure hunters, and there was this really big statue they wanted to move. But it was thousands and thousands of pounds, and they couldn't move it. But they took some big sticks and they had some rocks underneath to make a fulcrum, and they were actually able to tip it over, and then they were able to take the piece off the top that they wanted. So levers are used in all sorts of different things. Something important to know is that your lever does have to be sturdy. This is a simple machine that does have to be the sturdiest because it's going to have a lot of force. If my lever is made out of paper, it's actually not going to work the same. If I try and put this under my heavy book and place it underneath, and I push it, my lever's going to bend. Levers will not work if they can bend. They do have to be rigid and sturdy. But levers can be used for more than just lifting things. They can also be used for some fun things. One thing we use levers for is to sometimes use balance and balance weight. So if a lever is perfectly in the middle, I'm using a ruler because it has a mark at the middle at 6 inches, because this is a 12-inch ruler. I can see the difference in weight. So my hands are the same size, so they're going to balance when I just set them on gently. So if you have 2 things that are the exact same weight, they're actually going to balance. But if you want to make it so they are balanced with different weights, you can adjust the fulcrum. So I have one really heavy helper. I'm going to put him on this side. And I have one really light helper. I'm going to put him on this side. Now you notice they are balanced, but he's much heavier. The heavier side of the lever is always going to go down. The lighter side is going to go up because this one has gravity pulling on it more strongly than this side. But we can adjust the lever and make it even. They'll both still have the same force, but the lever will be affected different amounts. So if I have a really long lever and move it this way, just like that, almost, I can actually get it to balance if I'm careful. Looks like right about there. Oh, almost. Let's see if I can do it. Oh, there we go. We lost our friend. Hold on. Let me get this to balance. Almost. They're kind of sliding around, so it is a little difficult. But what happens is you notice whenever I move a little bit this way, now all of a sudden, he's on the higher end and he's on the lower end. They're still on the same lever, but I have moved the fulcrum all the way to this side. And if I move it back to the other side, it's going to go back to him being on the bottom. And we can use this for all sorts of different things and to adjust different forces. So if you want to lift something really, really heavy, it needs to have a really short lever and a really long lever. There's something super awesome in the Perot Museum, if you've ever been, which is this huge science museum, that they have this gigantic boulder in a big glass box. And they have a lever hanging from the ceiling. On this lever, so it looks like a big lever like this, and there's a big boulder on one side. They have a fulcrum in the middle, and then they have 3 ropes. One here, and one here. If you try and pull on the first one, it's actually in the middle of the ruler, so it's going to be on a short end. You're going to pull on it, and the boulder's not going to move. If you pull on the second lever, you can pull it, it'll lift up a little bit, but it'll be really, really hard. And if you just touch the last lever, you just pull it a little bit, the boulder just lifts up like it's nothing's there. And that's the super cool part, is that you can be super strong using levers. Something that uses levers, that's a toy, that they're hard to find now, but you can still find them, is a seesaw. The cool thing about seesaws is it's just a lever. One person sits on it and jumps down, the other person lifts, and then they jump down, the other person lifts, and jumps down, the other person lifts. The cool thing is no matter how heavy or how light you are, you can enjoy a seesaw. Heavy people just have to scoot more towards the middle, and light people just sit more towards the outside. And then you can be balanced, and you can play with your parents or play with your friends, no matter what weight you are. So that's a cool thing about seesaws, and that's a fun way we use them in every day. Another really cool way we use levers is a catapult. I have one here, and here's the cool thing about catapults. They let you turn a little bit of force into a lot of force. Because all this is a lever and a fulcrum. Remember, a fulcrum is just where it rotates, so it rotates in the middle. So this is a catapult, or it can be a seesaw, and it's super cool. So when I press on this side, all the force is going to be pushed into this side, and it's going to launch in that direction. So let's say we have our friend here. He has a parachute on, he has a helmet on, he is ready, and he wants to practice his circus act. And his circus act is actually he's going to fly. So if we want to have enough force to put this person not only in the air, but continue to launch them, we're going to use a lever. Now, if you want to be a super advanced lever, you can put a lot of weight on one side, like you can put an elephant on one side and then he'll go flying. But I'm just going to use my hand as this example. So I'm going to put him in his little bucket so he's ready to go. I'm going to put a book under him because if I put him too far down, he's going to fall out. But we're going to go ahead and send him on his trip. And you'll notice I didn't put that much force. I just took 2 fingers on it and just pushed it down a little bit. I can move this with my pinky, and he's going to get a lot of force that way. So if I put something really heavy on this, like I drop this book on it, he would really go flying. I'm actually going to do that because that seems like a fun experiment. I hope you're ready, Mr. Lego Man. 3, 2, 1. It actually knocked over my camera a little bit, but he went in a straight line and hit my wall all the way over there. So he went pretty far. I'm actually going to go get him. The cool thing is that catapults have been used for hundreds and hundreds of years. So people knew about levers before they even had a name for them. All they knew is that you put one weight on one side, something heavy on the other side, and you can fling it really, really far. But you notice that this lever is actually balanced. There's the same amount on both sides. And I have the color change so you can see how different it is. But if I move it so we have an even longer lever, we can actually make it more powerful. So I can do something like this, move the lever over, and now I have a much longer end, so I'm going to be able to put way more force into it. It doesn't go as far because it hits the ground, but I can put way more force into it. I'm actually just going to let it go. And it already launches because the weight of the lever is already pushing it for me. If I were to drop the book on this one, I feel like it would just shoot him all the way out through my ceiling. It would leave a hole. So we want to make sure we're careful when we're launching things, especially around eyes and mouth and nose, because these things can hurt somebody. If you launch something into somebody's face, that's not going to be good. So you do want to make sure you're careful if you do construct the catapult. But the thing is, you can play really fun games with this. A game I like to play is I like to get a plastic cup or a plastic bowl because I don't want to break or dip my glass ones. And I have something that's a catapult. I can use something simple like this kind of lever right here with a ruler. Let me turn my camera down so you can see that again. With my ruler, and I can try and launch my friend into it. I can use coins, I can use something small, and I can play this game and try and launch him into it. You notice this, even this really small lever that's perfectly balanced, I can just do a little bit, and he flies really, really high. So we can use this and actually try and make it go into a cup or into something or try and catch it. A fun game you could do is if you have this on the floor, you could step on the lever and throw him up, and then you try and catch him in the cup. So levers are really fun. You can do a lot of really awesome things with them. One really cool example of a lever that I've seen that doesn't look like a normal lever, but it's actually a lever in secret. If you've ever been to a summer camp where they have a big inflatable thing called a blob, where one person sits on one end and another person jumps from a tower and then they shoot them up into the air. If you've never seen it, there's really cool videos of this. So you look up like a blob launch, like B-L-O-B. What happens is all of the force gets pushed from one end and it goes into the other end because there's only so much space it has. So when you press on it, the air has to go somewhere and it all goes to the other side like a lever. And then it shoots the person really high into the air and then they fall into the lake or something. So it is a really cool experiment to use. So our two challenges are, one, see if you can lift a heavy, heavy book with just your pinky using a lever, like I did with this one. Remember, you need a fulcrum, something that's stable, like a ruler that won't break. You don't want to use stuff like bamboo sticks because they're going to break, things like that. So I'm going to put this under, and you can make a lever that can lift a really heavy book that you can't lift by yourself with your pinky. Or you can make a catapult game where you try and either hit a target or you try and make it go straight up and catch it. And it's super awesome to experiment and play around with and see how you can use a lever, which is a simple machine, to help your life easier. Thank you guys for tuning in to Real Inspired Learning with New Minds. I hope you guys enjoy, and don't forget to pursue your passions until they become your talents. Have a nice day, you guys.